Where are you? Please come out. When I returned home after being away for work, my grandchild was gone. I searched around the house thinking that maybe he had been involved in some kind of incident. Then, I discovered my grandson in an unexpected place. I can't let my daughter-in-law leave a small child in a place like this. I decided to punish her for leaving my grandson behind. My name is Mary. My husband died a few years ago, and since my son Brian entered the workforce and left home, I have been living in the house my husband left behind. Even though I am single, I have no problem making ends meet as I am qualified as a visiting caregiver. Home visiting nursing care work is in high demand in this area, where there are many elderly people, and I spend my days busy. One day, I received a call from my son, Brian. "Hello, Mom, this is a sudden matter, but I have been transferred." Apparently, he was assigned to a place much further away than where he currently lives. "Ethan is too young, can't you refuse? It would be unreasonable for the company to suddenly transfer you at a time like this." Brian lost his ex-wife to illness, and his last memento is my grandson Ethan. Ethan is only 5 years old, but he is an intelligent child who tries not to cause trouble for his father, perhaps because his mother died at an early age. After losing his ex-wife, Brian lived with Ethan for a while, but one day he met and remarried a woman named Elizabeth, and now the three of them live together. I've talked to the company about it, but it seems like it's going to be difficult. I'm worried about the two people I'm leaving behind because I won't be close enough to come home right away. That's why I need to talk to my mom. According to him, the place he was transferred to was quite far away, and he would not be able to come back home easily. Brian is worried about the situation between the two of them. He asked if I could live with them. Of course I'm worried too, so I don't mind, but I don't think Elizabeth would want to live with her mother-in-law. I think I kept a good distance from her. I thought that if we suddenly started living together, our relationship might collapse. That's okay. Elizabeth suggested that they move in with the mother-in-law's house. That's fine, but I wonder what your company is thinking about suddenly transferring you. I can't help it. This is what office workers are like in every company. After a while, Elizabeth and Ethan moved into my house. It's a detached house, so there's plenty of room. While carrying their belongings in, I see my grandson Ethan, who seems depressed and refuses to leave his father's side. "Ethan, come over here and let's have a snack." With that said, I handed the cookies I had bought to Ethan, and he accepted them with his small hands, saying, "Thank you, Grandma." I was worried about whether Ethan would get used to me since we were living far apart, but surprisingly, Ethan seems to be opening up to me. As I was smiling and looking at Ethan chewing on the cookies, I heard a big dog's voice yelling, "Bow wow," from the garden. "Is that Rocky?" When I asked Brian, he nodded yes. There was a small dog with fluffy white fur in the garden. Rocky was Elizabeth's dog when she was single, and when she moved, she brought him into my home. Luckily, I have a large garden, so I plan to put Rocky's doghouse there. I also love dogs, so I was looking forward to meeting Rocky. "Rocky." Ethan saw him and ran out into the garden. He tries to touch its fluffy fur. "Aw, Ethan. I always tell you not to touch him with dirty hands." Elizabeth yelled at Ethan in a surprising move. After trembling at those words, Ethan murmurs in a low voice that he's sorry. "You don't have to be so angry, do you?" At this, Elizabeth looked embarrassed, and without saying a word, she quickly moved away and went back to her work. "Hey Brian, is Elizabeth always like that?" Elizabeth's hit on Ethan seemed too harsh. "Sometimes she scolds him for discipline, but it's not right now that I'll tell her that too." Did she not like that he tried to touch him with his hand as he was eating sweets just now? I felt a little uneasy about my future life as Ethan looked depressed and looked down at her scolding. The moving work was completed successfully. Brian departed for his new job, and the three of us began our lives together. Then, "Stepmom, please pick up Ethan." She told me that she was having a mom friends gathering today as well, wearing a tight-fitting dress that showed off her body shape, and wearing more makeup than usual as she headed out the door. As the scent of harsh perfume lingers in the air, I sigh again. At first, Elizabeth acted like she cared about me, but as she got used to living in my house, she started acting indifferent. Elizabeth was a housewife, and even though she was not working, she was often away from her home on a daily basis. Although she does the bare minimum of housework, she doesn't hesitate to ask me, who works full-time as a home care worker, to drop Ethan off at kindergarten and pick him up, like today. I've heard that she has a wide circle of friends, but I wonder if she has so many occasions to get together. When I said that I couldn't always cooperate because I had work, I was told that Ethan might get bullied if she didn't get along well with her mom friends, so I always reluctantly agreed. Elizabeth thought I wouldn't be too strong, so after a while she started going out at night. Apparently she has a drinking party just for moms. On those days, I put Ethan to bed. "Mom is busy today." "Sorry, but you will be with your grandma." "Well, I love sleeping with grandma." "Thank you," Ethan said and hugged me tightly. I'm almost moved to tears by admirable Ethan, who must be feeling lonely after being away from his father. Elizabeth is his mother, even though she is his step-in-law. Shouldn't his mother be there for him while his father is away? Or doesn't she feel sorry for Ethan because she's just playing around? Thinking about it always made me angry. Still, Ethan is admirable and seems to be concerned about Elizabeth, and one day when her birthday was near, he told me that he wanted to give her a present. Mom always seems busy, right? That's why I want to make her a delicious meal. Yes, I understand. Then let's make a feast with Grandma. He tells me that he wants to keep it a secret until the day of the meal, so we secretly discuss what to make and make our own plans. Then, on the day of Elizabeth's birthday, Ethan ran up to Elizabeth, who returned home after 5 p.m. after going somewhere again. "Mommy, welcome home." What? "Mommy is tired. If you need anything, please tell Grandma." Elizabeth treated Ethan, who had been waiting impatiently for her return, and immediately retired to her room. But Ethan didn't give in to her cold attitude, and he forced her to come over, pulling Elizabeth's hand and leading her to the dining room. On the dining table is the mac and cheese I made with Ethan. The word "I love you" written on top of the mac and cheese with ketchup was clumsy, but it showed the child's utmost love for his mother. But Elizabeth sees this and is incredulous. "What's this mac and cheese? It's all messed up with ketchup, isn't it?" Ethan looked hurt by the mocking way she said it. Mom, it's your birthday today, right? I did my best to make you a birthday present." Elizabeth let out a deep sigh as Ethan spoke hard while feeling like he was about to cry. It's too much trouble. I understand," she said as she reluctantly sat down and took a bite of her mac and cheese. She immediately puts down the spoon and stands up. "It's not very tasty. I'm not hungry, so thank you for the meal. I'm not going to eat anymore, so I'll put it away." She heads to the kitchen with the remaining plate of mac and cheese in hand. Then Elizabeth started dumping the remaining mac and cheese on her plate into the trash bag. "Hey Elizabeth. That's too much. Ethan worked hard to make it for you, right?" "Oh, I'm a little sick. I just wasn't hungry." "That's not enough reason for you to throw anything away. In the first place, you always leave Ethan behind when you go out, so even when you're at home, you have to think about Ethan's feelings." She responded in a timid manner, but I couldn't help but criticize her in a strong tone. Up until now, I had not been able to fix her behavior, as she must have been worried about her husband being transferred and living far away from her. But that probably wasn't good. I can't leave her alone anymore because she doesn't care if I'm there or is harsh on Ethan. She must have felt remorse for my sword fight and apologized with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean any harm. But the reason I'm going out is for Ethan's friendship. Of course I care about my son." In that case, please show it to me properly." After saying that, she makes Ethan promise not to treat him badly again. She certainly seemed to have become kinder to Ethan since then. However, I still can't shake my anxiety over the somewhat awkward interaction between mother and child. Then the season changed and it became winter. When I looked out the window, it was snowing, which is rare in this region. After finishing dinner, I was cleaning up in the kitchen when Elizabeth came into the living room with a fierce look on her face. "Rocky's not here. You must have done something wrong and let him escape." She approached Ethan, who was sitting on the sofa quietly watching TV, and suddenly she started accusing him in a decisive manner. "I don't know, Mom." However, Ethan shook his head with a puzzled look on his face, as if he didn't remember it. Of course, Ethan is not the kind of boy to let a dog get away. Wasn't she the one who strictly told Ethan not to touch Rocky in the first place? Wait a minute, you don't have any proof. It wouldn't be good for Ethan to do that in the first place. I rush in and protect Ethan. His body was trembling as I held him, probably because his mother had yelled at him. I mean, think about it. Why would Rocky go missing when he's tied up in a cabin? There's no way someone would have missed him on purpose. She may be sad that her dog is gone, but she still suspects her son and accuses him without any evidence. I got angry at her unbelievable claim and was about to retort when my smartphone suddenly rang. When I looked at the screen, I saw an incoming call from the nursing station where I work. I answered the phone anyway, and was told that the elderly person I was visiting had fallen and injured himself at home, and asked me if I could go check on him now. I'm worried about Elizabeth and Ethan, but I can't leave an elderly person alone who has fallen and can't move. Ethan, I'm sorry. Grandma has to go to work for a while. Please sleep with Mom first. Elizabeth, that's what I'm asking you to do. When I said that, she grudgingly nodded in understanding with a sullen look on her face. I can't get the sad look on Ethan's face when I leave my mind, so I head to the place I'm visiting. Fortunately, the elderly person I was visiting was not seriously injured, and his family who lived separately rushed to help me, and I managed to return home late that night. Were the two of them okay after that? Feeling anxious, I opened the front door of my house and found it pitch black inside. I thought they had both gone to bed, but I went to check their bedroom just to be sure. I opened the bedroom door and looked inside the pitch black room. However, Ethan, who would normally be in bed by now, was nowhere to be seen. And Elizabeth wasn't there either. Did he go out somewhere? No, there was no way he would go out this late at night. I had a bad feeling and searched the whole house, but couldn't find them. Ethan, Ethan. Where are you? Grandma. Come out. Confused, I called out my grandson's name, wondering if he was involved in some kind of incident, but there was no response. I searched every corner of the house, but couldn't find him. This time I went out into the garden with a flashlight. Light snow is still falling. Just when I thought there would be no one around in this cold weather, I saw a shadow of something moving in the darkness in Rocky's doghouse in the corner of the garden. I wondered if Rocky had been found, but when I turned my flashlight on, I saw Ethan, wearing scantily clad clothes and shivering from the cold. He is sitting small in his doghouse, hugging his knees. Ethan. What's going on here? I hurriedly ran over to him, and Ethan seemed relieved that I had come, and he started crying loudly. His hands are cold as ice when I touch them. I quickly take him inside the house and give him a bath to warm him up. Eventually, I was relieved to see his color return, but I wondered why Ethan was there. Hey Ethan, why are you sitting there? When I asked that question, Ethan suddenly looked sad, as if he was enduring something. Ethan was silent for a while, but then he began to explain what had happened, bit by bit. After Grandma went to work, Mom told me that I set Rocky free. She didn't believe me when I said I really didn't know. Then Mom got mad and told me to stay at Rocky's house until Rocky came home. Oh my God. What parent would tell a 5-year-old to stay outside in the snow, let alone in a doghouse? I said thank you for talking to me and hugged Ethan, who started crying again to calm him down. Then I picked up my smartphone and called a certain number. How could you leave such a young child alone in the snow? I can never forgive her this time. Hello, I'd like you to come and pick us up. A while later, the person I called arrived in a car. When the intercom rang to greet us, Ethan saw the person and happily called out, "Daddy." Brian responds by hugging Ethan tightly. Ethan, I'm sorry. Daddy's back. Mom, I'm so sorry. I couldn't believe this had to happen. We'll talk later. I can't let her go anymore. Come on, Ethan, let's go with Daddy and Grandma. With that, the three of us left the house and got into Brian's car, which was parked outside. After driving for a while with Brian, we eventually entered a residential area. This area is a so-called high-class residential area, and all of the houses are surrounded by high walls. Brian stopped his car in front of one of the largest mansions. It's been a long time since you came here. Come on in. An old white-haired gentleman came out from inside and greeted us with a smile. He, Robert, is the father of Brian's ex-wife, and thus Ethan's biological grandfather. After remarrying, they refrained from interacting publicly, but Brian apparently met Robert on a business trip. Brian, who was suddenly separated from his family due to a sudden job transfer, consulted Robert that if things continued like this, he would not be able to spend time with his family and would put even more emotional stress on Ethan, who was probably feeling depressed after losing his biological mother. Robert, who ran several companies and was concerned about his grandson even when he was away, invited Brian to come work for him if that was the case. At first, Brian wasn't sure if he should be so receptive to the offer, but he was told that if it was Robert's company, he wouldn't have to be transferred. It seemed the best for Ethan, so he asked Robert to give him that job. Meanwhile, I was reporting to Brian about the situation of the two people living with me. Elizabeth goes out frequently saying she has something to do, and her attitude towards Ethan is cruel. Even when the three of them lived together, there were times when Ethan would behave strangely, even though she acted like his mother on the surface. So we decided to keep the news of his job change a secret from her for a while. He was making preparations to live together behind the scenes, but something like this would happen before that happened. When I report that Ethan was in the kennel, Robert becomes furious, and Brian hugs Ethan, tearfully saying he's sorry. Can I live with my dad? Will we be separated again? Well, we'll be together forever from now on, Brian said, and Ethan broke into a big smile. Are you ready? Ah, finally. The time has finally come. Brian nods at my words, and he squeezes Ethan's delighted hand. It looked like he was determined to never let go of this little hand. Afterwards, I returned home, and the next day I confronted Elizabeth about what it was like to leave a young child in a dog kennel, but she claimed that she didn't say anything like that, and was insistent that she hadn't done anything like that. Moreover, I have something to do today, so I'm going out. Please take care of Ethan. No matter how many questions I asked, Elizabeth was about to leave the house as usual, but at that moment, the front door slammed open. I'm home. Oh, my. What happened to you all of a sudden? Brian's new job is several hours away by car. Elizabeth was surprised when her husband suddenly returned without contacting her, even though he lives far away. But Elizabeth tried to make her smile, and she seemed happy to welcome him back. However, Brian doesn't smile at her, looks down on her with a cold gaze, and silently hands her a brown envelope. What's this? When she opened her brown envelope and saw the documents inside, her face changed. As I had heard beforehand, it was the investigation report about Elizabeth's affair. Brian, who had heard about Elizabeth's behavior from me, had asked the agency to investigate Elizabeth's behavior. You can't get away with it, we know from the research papers and photos. This is a misunderstanding. The photo showed her and a man entering a hotel. I can't believe you were having sex with my boss. You are also harassing Ethan about Rocky, right? The detective agency investigated everything, and Rocky is safe in that guy's apartment. According to the investigation, Rocky was bought at the apartment of her cheating partner. In other words, his disappearance was of her own making. It turns out that Brian's sudden departure was all part of his boss and Elizabeth's plan. If he's transferred to a faraway place, they can meet more often, and she can push her troublesome child onto me. That was the reason why Elizabeth was willing to live with her mother-in-law, which she would normally have hated. I don't know. It's some kind of mistake. She screams hysterically and tries to pretend that she doesn't know, but soon after, an unexpected person appears and her lies are exposed. As the skirmish continued, the intercom rang, announcing the arrival of a visitor. When I went outside, I saw an unknown woman standing there. Is she around 30 years old? You probably know this person. Elizabeth shook her head from side to side at Brian's words. No. I don't know. Who is it? She has a look on her face that says she really can't think of one. Brian snorted when he heard that. I heard that you often showed up at the kindergarten's mom-friend gatherings, leaving your child with my mom. This is the mom of Ethan's best friend. You didn't know, that would be impossible. Furthermore, he confronts her with his photo and his investigation report, which are evidence of her affair, and demands that she tell him the truth. Then she collapsed on the floor, and as if she had realized that she could no longer lie, she admitted everything. Brian looks down on her, hands her the divorce papers he's filled out, and coldly declares that he wants a divorce. I was just tempted by an evil spirit. I just want to avoid divorcing. It's too late, I can't forgive you for hurting not only me but Ethan. Get out of this house. You're so bossy. I've been taking care of your child with your ex-wife. But what's with that attitude? Why don't you just say thank you to me? Of course I'm grateful. But what about now? You're just playing around, pushing Ethan to my mom. Ethan and I don't need a mother who pushes her child into a kennel. A big fight broke out, and things didn't go away for a while, but after a while Brian and Elizabeth's divorce was officially granted in court. He asked a lawyer to get a large amount of compensation from both her cheating partner and Elizabeth, but it appears that his boss also had a wife and child, so they both had to pay compensation as well. Furthermore, it seems that the company of the man that Elizabeth was having an affair with just happened to have formed a business partnership with Robert's company, and the man was fired to take responsibility for it. I heard that he lost his job and was forced to live a simple life in order to pay alimony, and is now living on a small scale in municipal housing. The two got together after an affair, but things seem to be quite tense between them, as they constantly fight, perhaps because they lost interest after seeing the reality of the trial. On the other hand, We are now able to live as a family of 3 in this house that my husband left us. Ethan seems to be smiling much more now that his father is around. Because of that incident, his grandfather, Robert, started visiting our house from time to time with sweets and toys just to see Ethan's face. Ethan is also very attached to him, calling him Grandpa, Grandpa. I can never forgive Elizabeth for what she did to little Ethan. So we want to create lots of fun memories for Ethan. I wanted to give Ethan a happy life this time.